Skirt, skirt. Told you we always been ready. I don't need people that's petty, that weigh on me heavy while I'm being steady. I need a record with Felly. We get it bouncing like Betty's, I feel like I'm Nelly. Don't bring the beef like a deli. It's leave on a levy, no sleeping on me like I'm Freddy. Chris Breeze, how I do, hit him with the moves. Left hand step back, ballin' like I'm Coos. All faith, God's plan, you just gotta choose. God slaps, nothing left to prove. Y'all gotta leave me alone. Lately I've been in my zone. Told them no cap like I fitted, but lately the flows have been straight off the dome. I feel like I'm MVP, like my name Patty Mahomes. If it ain't about money, don't hit on my phone, cause lately I've been in my zone.
Hello, welcome to the Cowboy Show, hosted by Ben Carey and Nick Gronerad, combining expert human opinions with cutting-edge simulation models to help you arrive at the best picks each week. Inside Edge Community. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the second stream of the day. We talked for an hour about some college basketball earlier, and now it is time to talk about the games that I think everyone's really excited about today, the NFL playoffs. 2 games. We have the Las Vegas Raiders going on the road to the Cincinnati Bengals, and we have the New England Patriots going on the road to Buffalo. Ben, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I wish my Denver Broncos were in the playoffs, but other than that, doing fine.
Yeah. I'm feeling pretty good too. I feel like I'm with you. I wish my team was out there playing. I'm especially disappointed with the fact that not only is my team not playing, but my team's big rival, the Steelers, eked their way into the playoffs. So I have to root against them tomorrow.
Yeah.
But that's a story for another time. We've got some good games today. I think some pretty interesting games, storyline wise. We have a set of teams in the Raiders and Bengals that played each other earlier in the year. And we have a set of teams in New England and Buffalo that have played each other twice already this year. So we have
Nick,
a lot.
fun fact. I think every playoff matchup but one has seen a game between the two teams earlier in the season.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
I think
interesting.
the only one is the... it's in the NFC, but...
I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? You're always playing a team that's from your conference, and you play of the other 12 teams in your conference. You do play 8 of them in the course of the regular season.
Yeah, I guess it does make sense.
That it does. So what's up, everyone in the chat? Thank you all for tuning in. What's up, Retro? Said he has a DM for you on Discord, Ben, about the Colorado State game.
Oh, I think I saw that. Yes, take it. At 12.5. I just forgot to respond.
Okay. What's up, Big Germ? We are, in fact, jamming. Love to jam. I always turn on the intro and listen to the music. I love it. Stay-at-home dad says, any way to skip the 30-second ad every time I go to watch the stream? The one way to do that, like Big Germ said, is to subscribe. The pre-roll ad that Twitch plays is not something that we have any control over. It's not something that I have the ability to turn off. I never run any ads in the middle of the stream, which is something that we could do, but something I don't really want to do. And I think even ad blockers, like I have an ad block, and I don't really think it works for Twitch. Twitch has done a lot to make sure that their ads get played. So they get through ad blockers, and I don't know how to stop that. So again, the pre-roll ad at the beginning is not something that we have any control over.
Yeah, but if you subscribe, it's gone.
Yes, if you subscribe, it's gone.
Yeah.
And you can do so for free with Twitch Prime. Let me go ahead and throw the link for how to do that in the chat. If you have an Amazon Prime account, you can click that link it up with your Twitch account, and subscribe for free to one channel every month. Let's see. Who else we got? Billy Retro says the GOATs. No, Chad is the GOATs. Y'all are the real GOATs for allowing us to do this. Peter says Pats +4. We'll talk about that in a second.
We will.
Yeah, pick 6. It has been a long time. It's been like over an hour. I don't know if I could have taken it any longer. So let's Yeah, Niners and Cowboys are the one that didn't play in the regular season.
Oh, yep. That's the only one, I think.
So,
And it does make sense. I thought I was doing something there, but
yeah, I mean, I think that is a lot. Still, a pretty high amount of teams that are rematching. So you ready to hop into this first game?
I certainly am. I'm excited. Let's do it.
Yeah, so we've got an hour and 20 minutes until kickoff, so we've got 40 minutes for each of the two games. Game number 1, we have the Las Vegas Raiders going on the road to Cincinnati. Cincinnati, winner of the AFC North. Las Vegas, wild card coming out of the AFC West. Cincinnati is a 6-point favorite at home, and the over-under in this game is looking actually like it's at 48.5 right now. So let me make that adjustment real quick while Ben tells us his initial thoughts on this game.
1 second. Sorry, my computer just timed out on me.
Ben's computer froze. So
Sorry. Great timing.
sorry.
Sorry.
So I guess I can start us out.
Yeah, you started off. Sorry.
And I'll start out just by talking about the model here. So the model has this as quite a high-scoring game, which is actually something that I really like the idea of this being a bit of a shootout. So the model has Cincinnati winning 29.89 to 24.88. If you round that off to football scores, we're looking at probably something like 30, 31, 24, maybe something in that range. So it's a Cincinnati win by 5 points and a total of about 54.5 to 55. So the model definitely likes the over. At this 6 number, the model likes the Raiders. This has been fluctuating up and down, I think, over the course of the week. I think it was at 6.5 for a long time, dropped all the way to 4.5, and now has kind of bounced back to 6. So if I had to take a side lean and a total lean, at this number of 6, I like the Raiders, and I like the over. What are your thoughts, Ben?
Yeah, I think I'm similar to you. I definitely like the Raiders play a little more. And I just think at that +6, I like the value. And the Raiders are a team that their backs have been against the wall this whole season, and you know, more so from what they've had to deal with internally with their organization, distractions, and they've been able to figure it out. And it's just funny to me because they come into this game and it seems like no one's really giving them any credit for what they went through. I mean, this is a Raiders team that beat a really good Chargers team last week, right?
Yeah, I mean, so the last 4 games that the Raiders have played have been 4 wins over pretty good teams. They beat
underdogs in all of them, right?
I would not be surprised if they were. Let me confirm. So they beat last week the Chargers in LA as 3-point underdogs. The week before, they knocked off the Colts as 8-point underdogs. The week before that, they knocked off the Broncos. That game was at Pick'em. And the week before that, they knocked off the Browns as 3-point underdogs. So they're 4-0 straight up in their last 4 games and have not been favored in a single one of them. Oh, it was in Vegas. Thank you. Not LA.
Yeah, so now they're getting 6 against the Bengals team that feels like they have the pressure on them.
Yeah.
They're the
really
home
does.
team. They have a young quarterback. They have a young team as a whole. Not a lot of playoff experience. Their head coach, first playoff appearance.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first playoff appearance for both coaches. I mean, of course, Rick Bisaccia, this is his first rodeo.
I'll take Raiders +6 all day. I mean, I may even think about money line here. This is coming from a Broncos fan.
I'm totally with you. I think that this game, I think that Cincinnati should be favored, but I don't think it should be 6. This really feels like it should be a 3-point game. And I really think that people with Cincinnati are looking at 2 things, and both of these things are important. but I don't think that they should push this number all the way to 6. Those two things are the matchup that these teams played earlier in the year. That was a game that happened back in Week 11. It was in Las Vegas, and the Bengals won that game 32-13. So I think that is pushing this line a little bit. And I think the other thing is that the Bengals just in recent weeks have had a couple big wins, right? There was the 20-point win against Baltimore in Week 16. There was a 31-point win against Pittsburgh in Week 12, that game against the Raiders that we just talked about. And then the other win against Baltimore back in Week 7, that they won by 24 points. Aside from those games, though, and I don't want to discredit those games, but I think that they're a little bit of an outlier. I think especially the games against the Ravens. I mean, the Ravens defense has been very depleted. So I'm not super impressed putting up 41 against the Ravens. And I think that the Raiders are going to be able to hang with them in a shootout. I definitely think Cincinnati's going to put up points. But I think that the Raiders can hang.
Yeah, and Max Crosby is playing out of his effing mind right now.
Yeah, he is.
and I just don't think that's getting enough discussion, and it should be. And we'll hop on into it more as we go through some of these quarterback props. But he can disrupt the whole game. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, and one other thing that I think needs to be talked about is Joe Burrow. I mean, this is only his second year in the league. This is his first playoff game. So, are there going to be nerves? I kind of doubt it. He's played on a big stage before in college and come out on top. But
National championship.
I just think that 6 points is too many. Are you on board putting down the over as a lean?
I'm not.
Okay, I will take that
because
off the board then.
I would take that off.
I really like it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can. It's my lean, but I don't love it. I didn't bet it. I bet the Raiders. I could just see this being a lower scoring game, but not like 40 points, but I could see it being like a 44-point total. So, Raiders,
yeah.
I'm surprised imagine 6 weeks ago someone told you that the Raiders would be in the playoffs.
I wouldn't have been surprised.
I would have.
I mean, they've been a good team. I think you've been hating on them a little bit throughout the year.
Well, I definitely thought the Chargers would be in over them, so I'll put it that way.
Yeah, but I mean, you gotta beat them.
You do.
And the Chargers did not execute.
Nope.
All right, so let's move along to the player prop market. So for anybody who does not know, we have the model, which for the NFL gives us player props. So we have full player prop projections for every player on offense from the model. And we're going to go through in the order of quarterback props, then rushing props, then receiving props, then touchdown props. And let us know what you guys like. There's too many props for us to touch on every single one. But if there's a player that you are curious about that we did not touch on, let us know. And let us know what some of your favorite player props for this game are. So for passing yards, we have Derek Carr over under 252.5, and we have Joe Burrow over under 262.5. Right off the bat, the model likes both of these overs, especially Derek Carr. I do think that the model has been quite high on Derek Carr's passing ability, but I don't really think it's unwarranted. His passing yard numbers have been a little low in recent weeks. 186 against the Chargers last time out, 255 before that against Indy. In the 200s somewhere for the 4 weeks before that as well. So I think despite the model liking the over, I do lean the over for Derek Carr. But I don't think it's as good of a play as the model thinks it does. I also think, though, that if the Bengals end up ahead, all of these numbers for Carr have been in Raiders wins. So if he's playing from behind, there's going to be a little bit more passing volume, a little bit more down the field threat. Ben, what are your thoughts?
I like one of these overs and one of these unders. Do you want to take a guess?
I think you like the Carr over and the Burrow under.
That is correct.
Why is that?
So let's start with Carr. I think you nailed it. There's just the potential of them playing from behind. So I like that. And I also like the angle with Foster Moreau, Waller, Renfro, Zay Jones. Those guys are really starting to come along. And the big thing, though, with this, Nick, is if Josh Jacobs does have success on the ground, that does worry me a little bit because maybe the Raiders try to run the ball a little more. But I think the game plan going into this is going to be pretty balanced with the idea of having to pass more if behind.
Yeah.
Now for Burrow, I think this number is kind of trappy. And I really think that the Bengals are going to focus a lot more on short passing plays, 3-step drops, maybe the occasional play action, because they want to neutralize the pass rushing ability of the Raiders. Not only Crosby, but Ngakoue, I believe is his name. And he's been a threat too on the defensive line in pass rushing situations. So I think Burrow could potentially hit over his completion number, but I think he falls short under his yard number.
Yeah, so one thing I think is interesting about Joe Burrow and his passing output this year is the fact that he's never really actually close to this 262.5 number. He's only had 6 games this season where his passing yardage number started with 2. He's been under 200 4 times this year. That was a win against Denver, a win against Pittsburgh. That was one of the blowout wins. The blowout win against the Raiders earlier this year, and another win against Pittsburgh. So 4 wins for the Bengals, and Burrow's been under 200 in those 4 games. And then he's been way over this number. He's been in the 3 or 4 or 500s several times as well. A lot of those big numbers, though, have come in Bengals losses. So I think that there's a little bit of a recency bias with this Burrow passing yard number. I mean, he's had a couple monster games in a row, 525 against the Ravens and 446 against the Chiefs. I'd be surprised if he did that again. I really would. But yeah, like Pick Six said, he's kind of over by a ton or under by a ton. And for me, that makes Burrow a fade spot.
Yep. Definitely a fade.
All right, let's move on to rushing props. Unless you want to take a look at like completions or attempts numbers.
Nah, not really. We can move on.
All right. So rushing wise, we have Derek Carr over under 5.5, Joe Burrow over under 9.5 on the quarterback side of things, and on the running back side of things, we have Josh Jacobs over under 74.5. Joe Mixon over under 74.5, Josh Jacobs over under 60.5. So anybody here that you would like to talk about, Ben?
Not really. I don't have a strong opinion on many of these rushing numbers, but we can start with Mixon.
So what do you like about, or what do you think about Mixon?
I think it's a big number, but I do kind of lean over. And I just think that if the Bengals can establish the time of possession in this one too, with him and just kind of ground and pound, and they can have success doing that, that's going to be kind of their first option, I would say. And then I think they set up some of those big play actions because, again, I keep reiterating this, but the way the Raiders can really win this game when the Bengals have the ball is by making a big sack, turnover, and Bengals know that going into it, so I think anything they can do to try to offset that is going to put them in a good position. So I think Mixon could be the guy who takes advantage of that situation, so I like his over.
Yeah, so Mixon is kind of weird to me. I kind of like the under on Mixon's rush yards. And I like it for two reasons. One of those reasons is just the fact that I think that this is going to be a game that the Raiders are right in. So it's not necessarily going to be them running the ball down the stretch. If they are running the ball a lot down the stretch, the Bengals, that is, then Mixon's probably in a much better spot. But he's actually only gone over this number 5 times this year. And he hasn't done it since week 12. So I don't really know why this number is so high. It just feels like it's 10 yards too high.
I mean, I know why.
Because everybody's betting the over.
Well, and I think that the market expects the Bengals to be up, and they're just going to run the ball and give him 20-plus carries, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. He's only had 20-plus carries 4 times this year.
I mean, I almost can guarantee that those were all wins.
3 of the 4 were wins. So he had 29 in week 1, 20 in week 2. Since then, he's only had 20 twice. That was the back-to-back blowout wins against the Raiders and the Steelers.
Okay.
So
I'm staying away from it. Let me be clear. I'm staying away from that one. But
yeah, I kind of like the under on the Mixon rush yards. Any thoughts on Josh Jacobs at 60.5?
Not really. I always have trouble trying to figure out what he's gonna do. So
yeah, I don't actually hate Josh Jacobs. I have nothing against him. I don't think he's that good. Or at least I think he's overrated. He's another guy. I mean, he actually doesn't hit this number very often. He has 3 weeks in a row gone 60 plus, but on aggregate, I mean, it's just not been there for Josh Jacobs. It's possible. It's possible he's getting healthier down the stretch, but I mean, he had like a big game last week, but it was against the Chargers, so that's not very impressive.
Which is going to be higher, his number of carries or the number of children he has?
I'm gonna go with the push.
Okay.
Mid-teens for both.
I think it's 9.
Does he have 9 kids?
Yeah.
That's a lot of kids.
Yep.
Sounds like a nightmare.
A lot of child support.
Mm-hmm. I mean, whatever floats your boat.
Absolutely. We're not here to judge.
Nope.
Anything else with these?
Yeah, so I actually want to talk about Joe Burrow at this 9.5 number. So the model, which is usually kind of down on quarterback rushing numbers, actually likes Joe Burrow to go over this 9.5 number. And I think that that's a kind of sneaky play. He's gone over this number 3 straight weeks. 10 yards on 5 carries against the Chiefs last week, 11 on 2 carries against the Ravens the week before that, 25 yards on 5 carries against the Broncos the week before that. I think he's looking to run a little bit more. Just looking at his carries over the course of the season, he's been a little bit streaky. He has like a lot of games where he'll carry the ball 3 to 5 times in a row, and then several games where he'll carry it like once or twice in a row. Mm-hmm. So I think that he's kind of on one of those upswings right now. And I think that in a playoff game, you're really a little bit more inclined to put your ass on the line.
That's true.
That
it's kind of do or die, right?
The ball. Yeah, I mean, I think that we were talking about this in the playoffs last year with a lot of guys.
Josh Allen, I think.
Josh Allen, Ryan Tannehill, a lot of guys.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? Save it for next game? Like, come on.
No, exactly. Like you gotta. If I had nuts, I would pull a mush and drop them on the table. Like you gotta put your nuts on the table, right?
It's like John Elway in the Super Bowl, right? Like, putting my head down. I'm here to win, right?
Yeah.
Or Cam Newton. Ooh. Sorry, guys. It was a good opportunity to bring that up, but. And thanks, Van Natty and Jedi Nate. Jedi Nate, thank you for the follows.
Yes, and Van Adder, thank you for the Twitch Prime subscription. Appreciate that.
Yep.
Very, very much. For anybody else who would like to do that, little link to how to do that. I'm not gonna give the whole spiel. But thank all of you for that. And Ryan, thank you for the follow as well. And Jay, TJ, and C-Mac throughout the stream before this. Thank you guys as well. All right. You ready to move on to receiving props?
I am.
All right. So I think that there's going to be a lot of opinions that people have on some of these numbers. So is there a team that you'd like to start with, Ben?
Yeah, let's get it out of the way. Well, I shouldn't put it that way, but let's start with the Raiders because I have a play that I like quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. So receiving numbers that we have on the Raiders, we have Bryan Edwards over under 21.5, Darren Waller over under 63.5 on DraftKings right now, Hunter Renfrow over under 56.5, Josh Jacobs over under 20.5, and Zay Jones over under 45.5.
Wow. Props to Zay Jones. That number has been climbing week over week.
Yes, it has.
Nick, do you remember? I think it was like week 11. His number was at like 15 or 16.
Yeah, well, no, I think when I had the Raiders receiving overs Nick special as my play of the day on one of our streams, and Zay Jones's number was like 5.5 or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Basically, is he going to catch the ball once?
Crazy. And he did, I think.
I think he did as well.
Yeah.
So, Ben, who is your guy here?
So Darren Waller is my guy. And let me explain to you guys why. So first of all, I gave this out in our Discord and even before that to our subscribers and then on Twitter. And this number has been going up. It was at 59.5. It's at what? 62.5 is the...
I'm showing a 63.5 on DraftKings right now. I'm going to do, while you explain, I'm going to do a little bit of line shopping.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So first of all, the Bengals have been pretty terrible at guarding tight ends out of the backfield, or I shouldn't say out of the backfield, receiving wise. And if we go back to the first matchup between these two teams, we saw that on display. And I believe Darren Waller had 116 yards. So that was in week 11, 116 yards. But not only that, if you watch the last few Raiders games, they have been trying to get the ball to Waller. Last game, they didn't have a lot of success. They were just a little off. And I think it comes down to some timing issues. And Derek Carr loves the guy, but you know, he missed what, 4 weeks, Nick?
Yeah, he'd been out since week 12 when he came back last week.
Yeah. So he missed a few weeks trying to get him back up to speed. But reports are that he's off the injury report, so close to fully healthy. We can't say he's fully healthy because I think every player at this point, you know, they potentially could have some bumps and bruises and things that are ailing them. But 85, 90%, whatever it may be. And I think that the Raiders and that offensive scheme, they're really going to try to get him the ball in this one. So I can see him getting 8+ targets, 6 to 7 receptions, and I like him to go for 70, 75+ yards, Nick. I really do.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like this Waller play quite a bit. Oh, actually, do you know what's funny? I was doing my line shopping, and you know, the books are listening, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had points put up. They were showing it at 60.5. And they jumped it all the way up to 65.5. While it's in the VOD. Somebody clip it. We're talking about Darren Waller, and they move his number in the direction that we're talking about it.
Okay, guys. Last night, I could not sleep. It was 2:30 Mountain Time. So basically like bumfuck hours, right? 2:30. I posted something where I said, FanDuel caught you slipping with this number of 59.5. I tagged them. Within 6 minutes, that number jumped from 59.5 to 61.5. Again, 2:30 a.m. Whatever. You can think I'm crazy, but that was weird. That was very odd. So anyways, the books are listening.
Mm-hmm. They are. So Garrett says got it at 59.5 thanks to Ben. Yeah, I think 59.5 when it was there was like the right spot to hop in on this number. Long Beach has over 57.5, minus 140. I think my opinion is that minus 140 is a little bit too much juice to pay for those couple extra yards. I don't know if that's just a number that your book is offering, if you're trying to buy a couple yards. I think when you're dealing with a number this high, it's not worth that much juice to buy it down from, say, a 60.5 or 62.5. I'd rather take 62.5 minus 110. Oh, that's just the number your book has. That's weird.
That happens sometimes. Also, Nabil, you're right. I need to learn my lesson. I'm never doing that again. Mm-hmm. It was 2 a.m.
Yeah,
anyways,
they literally jumped it five yards in front of our eyes.
That's crazy. Also, Circa has this at 59.5 still. But I understand that Circa's only live in Colorado. Well, Iowa now too, but New Jersey or Las Vegas. So I'm fine with giving out this, 62.5.
Yeah, 62.5 on FanDuel.
Okay. So yeah, that's my spiel on Darren Waller.
Yeah, so that's Waller. What about anybody else on the Raiders? So I'm gonna run through the model here real quick. The model loves Deshaun Jackson as a deep threat. We didn't even see a prop for him. I don't know how much he's actually going to be playing. But you can take some of these yards and distribute them among other people, more or less. Model has Renfro at 46.1. Vegas has him more at like 56.5. I do think that a reception number for Renfro could be a good look. And again, I think that some of those numbers that it has for Jackson should get distributed to Renfro. Model X Foster Moreau. I don't see a number for him either. And Zay Jones at 40.5. So just a little under for him. Jacobs at like the same number. Here, I'll sort the other way. Jacobs at basically the same number. Edwards at basically the same number. But I'm with you. I think that Waller's my favorite guy.
Come on, books. It's the playoffs and we don't have a Foster Moreau number? I'm being serious.
Come on. Well, at least not on DraftKings.
No, I looked at a few different spots. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I'd rather not touch Moreau with.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, he had a good stretch. I know Waller's back in, but
yeah,
give us a number. You scared?
They are scared.
What would you set it at
for Moreau? Oh, I don't know.
I was gonna say in the 20s.
I don't think you can set it that high with Waller back. I think it's got to be more like a 15.5.
19.5. That's where I would set it. Because you're going to get action on the over.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe.
Well, maybe. With Waller back, I don't know.
Who knows?
Anything else with what about the chat? Renfro over receptions. I actually kind of like that. I like that more at least than his yardage mark.
I completely agree. So
yeah.
let's take a look at this. So Renfro, sitting at 5.5 receptions. The model has him at like 5. Again, I think that probably gets a little bit more target volume than 7 targets in this game. So I think that the Renfro over 5.5 receptions is a pretty decent look.
Mm-hmm.
Big Germ says I found a Foster number plus 2,700 first touchdown.
Yeah, it's plus 700 too to score a touchdown.
I mean, you never know.
That's true, but I wish we could get a number for yardage. But yeah, we can move on.
Right. Yeah, let's take a look at the Bengals now. And Black Cub Hawk, not Black Hawk Cub. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. So on the side of the Cincinnati Bengals, we have CJ Uzoma over under 26.5. Jamar Chase over under 72.5. Joe Mixon 20.5. T Higgins 65.5. Tyler Boyd 43.5. And that is it. So Ben, anybody on the Bengals that you're interested in?
I'm very interested in Chase, of course.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this number's a little bit lower than I was expecting it to be for Jamar Chase. I'm not saying I like the over, but I was just expecting the number to be higher.
I'm gonna say this. I think of. I'm almost thinking this is weird. Even though I like Burrow's under, I feel like if you play Chase, Boyd, and Higgins over, 2 or 3 are gonna hit.
Maybe. I don't like doing the Nick special with receivers on receiving overs. Just because there's like such a negative correlation.
But let me explain my logic. But I can understand like high level why you would think that. But let's say the Bengals go off what we know about Burrow, right? He's never close to his number. If he has a big game like he has, Chase is probably going over, and then one of those other 2 guys will go over. Even if he has like a iffy game and maybe they double Chase and they really put a lot of attention on him, I could see Boyd and Higgins going over their numbers too. I'm not going to do it, but that's just my thought process here.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's tough. I don't think you can do a Burrow under. Unlike this, because I mean, you're like, even if you just get 2 guys, you're really starting to squeeze in on Burrow's number. For what it's worth, the model actually has Jamar Chase going over by a couple yards. Again, DraftKings has him at 72.5. Model has him up at like 76. So it is over by a couple yards. On some of these other guys, model has Higgins at 56. So it likes the under for him. I think that might actually be a pretty reasonable play. I feel like one of these guys on the Bengals for sure is going to have a ghost game. They're just going to be running sprints.
Yeah. But who's going to be?
Yeah, I don't know.
Hard part.
I hate teams like this. It's like the Bucks when they have all their receivers healthy. I just don't have a good grip on which guy's going to get the targets. TJ asked about Uzoma model. That's up on the screen here. I got Uzoma at about 4 catches for 34.5 yards. So that's an over. I actually think that could be a pretty interesting look as well. So the Raiders against tight ends on the year have been allowing quite a few yards. About 5.5 catches per game, 8 targets per game for about 60 yards. Uzoma didn't really do anything the first time out against the Raiders, but he's been stepping it up, over the last half of the season, I think. So I think that I think Uzoma, his over is a potential look as well. Anything else that you want to look at?
Not really.
All right. So a couple of messages from the chat. Mick Wizzle for real. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for checking it out. It says Jamar Chase to have 100+ yards and Cincinnati to win at plus 155. How do we feel? I don't think that plus 155 is good enough for that, personally. I honestly feel like Chase to have 100+ in and of itself should probably be plus 155-ish. And then even though it is positively correlated, Chase having a really good game and the Bengals winning, I feel like that should be priced more like, just off the top of my head, I'd want that more like 180. That feels like a good number for that. I'm going to butcher this. Oh, Canada Relief. I was thinking like Candelier, but no, Canada Relief Benefit says, I'd pick over on Chase targets, not yards. Can you bet targets anywhere? I mean, you could bet receptions. But I think I'd like to stay away from all the Bengals wide receivers. Supreme Evan says, what do you think on Renfro touchdown? We're going to touch on touchdowns in just a second. We mentioned maybe just before you got here that we like the Renfro receptions over at 5.5. It was player prop locks that mentioned that in the chat, and I like that. TJ says I love Uzoma, and that backs it up. Yeah, I think Uzoma is a kind of sneaky, solid look here. I think that the receivers are getting a lot of hype, and the Uzoma number feels pretty fair for an over at 26.5. Golden said, I got a cheeky feeling Burrow runs one in at plus 400. I think that's actually a pretty decent look. I was talking about his rushing yardage over earlier, just because quarterback's going to go balls to the wall, put your body on the line in the playoffs. And I think that's pretty correlated with that.
Little sneak, maybe. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or just like a 3rd and goal from the 5, scramble in type of deal. Braden says, what are the picks today? So our lean for this game, spread and total wise, was the Raiders. We're going to get to our lean for the next game in a second. And then as far as as soon as we're done with the game, for each game, we're going to give our favorite bets for that game. So for this first game, that'll be coming up in just like 2 or 3 minutes.
Mariota, anytime.
That's a thought. So let's take a look at touchdown numbers right now. Let me throw the Raiders back up here so we get both on the screen. And here we are. Also, again, as I always point out, these are not probabilities of scoring a touchdown. These are an average number of touchdowns. So the model likes Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon. And honestly, I think that the Jamar Chase makes a lot of sense. If he's going to have any kind of big game, it's going to be big plays. Like, that's what he does. So I
plus
think
100?
At plus 100, that feels quite reasonable to me. I think at minus 160, Mixon's a little bit too expensive. Personally.
You know what? Like, actually, I kind of like the Chase touchdown.
Yeah, plus 100 feels like a good value for that.
Because if they play, let's say, 100 games, right? I think he scores 53, 55 times.
Yeah, so Jamar Chase, how many games has he scored in? Because you can't go by average touchdowns. You have to go like percentage of games with a touchdown.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in 17 games this year, he has scored a touchdown in 9 of them. So just a little bit better than 50%. Mm-hmm. Model likes him. I think it makes sense.
And I also look at it too, like it's the playoffs. Even some of that is magnified.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we touched on Waller. We like the over quite a bit.
So
lay the 2 running backs for touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't really like the value on either of them. I think that they're
minus
both a little bit too
160.
expensive.
Ugh.
Yeah, Mixon at minus 160 feels extremely expensive. Jacobs at minus 105 also feels a little bit overpriced. Model doesn't have anything for Mariota, touchdown-wise. I can only feed it at one quarterback. Like, we never get Taysom Hill props, or at least didn't when he wasn't starting for the Saints. Mm-hmm. Same kind of deal. But honestly, if I had to take a touchdown prop, the Jamar Chase one feels like the best value.
Yeah, not bad at all.
Yeah, I completely agree. So, Ben, before we move on to game number 2, which is the New England Patriots and Buffalo Bills game, what is your favorite bet in this game between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Cincinnati Bengals?
My best bet, Darren Waller over 62.5 receiving yards. That is on FanDuel right this moment, in time, in real time. He's going to go for, I'm gonna go 80 yards, Nick.
80 yards for Waller.
80 yards for Waller.
I like it. I think that Waller's in tune for a big game today. So for me, my favorite bet. Oh, PointsBet also dropped Waller back down to 60.5. I don't know what they're doing.
Okay, well, I'll take this. I'll take 60.5 then if you're going to give it to me.
Update.
So
breaking news.
Waller over 60.5.
So for me, I think that my favorite bet today. Oh man, this feels wrong to say.
No. You wouldn't give a touchdown prop.
No, I'm not giving a touchdown prop.
Oh.
But I actually think I'm going to take Joe Mixon under 74.5 rushing yards. I just think it's 10 yards too high, even if the Bengals win. And I think that there's a pretty decent chance the Bengals are playing from behind.
Yeah.
So I like Mixon rushing under. He's only hit it 5 times this year. The over.
Hey, I like it.
And look what they did immediately as I said that. They dropped it down.
It's weird, man.
It is.
Like it's one of those things where you can tell someone something, and then we're literally showing you in real time. So
I mean, it's happened twice today. We were showing the Waller at 60.5 on PointsBet, and as we were talking about it, they raised it to 65.5. And I just said that this Mixon rushing under was my favorite play, and as I said it, they dropped it. Is Jazz here? No, Jazz isn't here.
new name.
Can't blame him for this one. All right, so that wraps up game number 1. Are you ready for game number 2, Ben?
I am. And what time does the first game start? 2:30 Mountain Time?
Yeah, 2:30 first. So we've got
Okay.
40 minutes to talk about this second game. We're right on schedule. Game number 2. We've got the New England Patriots going on the road to Buffalo. Buffalo, as of last look, going to go check this in a second after I bring up the new teams on the prop dashboard. Buffalo is a 4.5 point favorite in this game. Over under is set at 43. So these two teams have played each other twice already this year. And it's been 2 pretty interesting games, I would say. They played in what week was it? Week 13. An absolutely disgusting game to watch. In the snow and in the cold and in the wind. And the Patriots won that game 14-10 despite throwing the ball 3 times. The more realistic game that they played was in week 16. This one was in New England, and Buffalo won this game 33-21 in normal weather conditions. So, personally speaking, I don't think looking at that 10-14 game that these two teams played is remotely useful information. Would you agree with that statement?
Sort of. And the reason why I don't 100% agree is because we're not seeing technically normal conditions expected for this one.
So what are the weather conditions in this game?
The weather conditions are, let's pull it up. First of all, I know it's cold, but that, I will admit, doesn't necessarily change a whole lot. But I'm showing, let's see here. 12 degrees, chance of hypothermia. Literally, I'm reading
Chance of hypothermia?
Yeah. It says hypothermia likely without protective clothing.
Nice.
But not a lot of wind. Okay, here's my point, Nick. I guess I feel like the Pats may just try to run the ball like they did in that first matchup against the Bills.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. It is definitely possible. Is that going to happen for sure? No. I don't know. I mean, the Patriots knew that was a recipe for success, because that was the first of the 2 times that these 2 teams had played each other. And then in that second game, they didn't play that game plan. I mean, they did run the ball 27 times in the second game against the Bills, but they threw it 32 times without a whole lot of success. I don't know that the Patriots can be as successful, using successful as a relative term here, as they were the first time out with that kind of game plan. I think that Mac Jones is going to have to do something.
I totally agree, because I think the Bills will purposefully load the box. And I think Mac Jones is going to have to make some pretty big throws if they want to win this, or potentially cover too as well. So Mac Jones will probably have to have a good game for this to be a cover for the Pats.
Yeah, I agree.
Or a significant game, I should say, because he didn't necessarily have a bad game in that first outing. They just didn't use him. But I think that they will have to use him this time around.
Mm-hmm. So model-wise, the model has Buffalo winning this game on average 23.38 to 20.58. So it's a 2.8 point win for Buffalo and a total of between 43.5 and 44. So at these numbers, I guess this is a 4.5. I need to go and change that. And the total of 43. The model has a lean on the Patriots to cover, and very slight lean on the over. So personally, as far as what we throw up for our leans, I kind of like the Patriots in this spot at least to cover. I just think that they're 2 pretty evenly matched teams. I think in the playoff, Belichick is gonna come through a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the Patriots to cover. I wish that this was a couple more points, but that's not the way this works.
Hey, I'm fine with 4.5. Look, I like the Patriots, and I would probably play this down to 4.
Yeah.
They did. Total is changing. No, total is still 42.5. Total, Nick, I kind of lean. Oh, actually, no, it did change, right?
Yeah, it literally just dropped.
Yeah, I lean over barely, but I think that's just me trying to be contrarian.
Yeah, I don't want to touch the
Yeah.
total in this game.
Yeah, but doesn't it feel like everyone's talking about the weather and that it's going to be an under? That's how I feel.
I agree. I mean, and people are overlooking the fact that they scored 24 in one of the worst weather games in the history of the NFL, and they scored 54 in regular weather. We'll be somewhere in between those 2 things in this game. I definitely think that the over is my lean, but I don't want to throw the over up as actually up on the screen lean.
Mm-hmm. Same.
All right, so you're ready to move on to the player prop market.
I am. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, and also over the last 15 or so minutes, thank you Mick Wizzle and Braden and Moyfan for the follows. Appreciate all those very much. So we've got some passing yard props to start out. And Scopeland, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. So we've got Josh Allen over under at 238.5. Mac Jones over under at 196.5. So the model for these guys has Mac Jones literally like spot on this number, off by 0.2 of a yard. And Josh Allen, we have the under by about 28 yards. I do think it's probably underestimating Josh Allen a little bit, especially if this is a little bit more of a free-flowing game. But he's actually had, in recent times, quite a few games where he's failed to hit this number. The passing how do you turn the word prolific into a word that fits?
Don't look at me.
This is an English stream now.
Yeah.
This is a grammar stream.
My sister would know. She's good with verbiage like that.
But yeah, I don't. Josh Allen has had a lot of games that have been not so prolific. In recent weeks, so I actually don't hate the thought of an under for Josh Allen, especially if this is a more slow tempo game. I think New England having success in the run game really hinders Josh Allen's passing output. He's been very, very volume dependent. Actually, his yards per attempt numbers are not great. If you look at games where he's gone over this number, he's had tons of pass attempts. So against the Jets in Week 18, he went for 239, which is technically an over on this number, but on 45 attempts. 314 the last time these two teams played, but on 47 attempts. 308 against Tampa in Week 14, but on 54 attempts. That's the last 3 times he's gone over this number. So he needs like 45 plus attempts to hit this 238 number. So I think that's why the model has him as such a low number on average. Do you have any thoughts, Ben, on either of these guys?
Yeah, my thoughts are, I do agree with you, Josh Allen. I think it's an under or nothing type of play.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we could shop around and find even a better number, possibly.
Yeah, it's possible. Let me do that real quick.
And now it's minus 125. See? Mac Jones, I lean over, but I don't love that one. It's just my lean. I would have to say the Josh Allen under is probably my favorite.
Yeah, so I'm
for
showing
the
this
quarterbacks
at 238.5 on FanDuel as well. And PointsBet has this number at 240.5, but juiced to the under a little bit.
Okay. The Bengals have not won a playoff game since, what was that, 1990?
Since 1991 or 93 or something like that. Early 90s.
Who was quarterback?
Who was the quarterback on the team? That's an excellent question.
I think I know, maybe. Is it Boomer Esiason?
Yeah, I've got no clue.
Yeah.
If somebody in the chat knows the answer to that question.
That'd be my guess, but that's like
know.
literally one of the only, like, well, not only quarterback, like back when the Bengals were good. I think it has to be him.
Yeah. And yeah, whole new team is an understatement. I think a lot of these guys weren't alive when that happened.
So we can't use the trend from 1990?
Yeah, no.
The unders.
Yeah. It's like, what's the meme stat that I posted that one time? It's like, I posted it in Kobe's stream earlier. They were talking about trends, so just chimed in with that.
Oh, yeah.
We just made it up.
Like
It's like, yeah, like they're born during a full moon, and like their middle name's 5th letter is H, and this and that. And you make it go back to like 1840 or something. You could just put together the most idiotic trends.
Leos are 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
Da.
Yeah. But this is definitely a whole new team.
Josh Allen. Oh, yeah, we'll get to the rushing yards here next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mac Jones-wise, I don't really have any thoughts on this number at 196.5. I mean, it feels right. And Awentz, thank you for the follow. Or Awentz. Let me know how to actually pronounce that. But thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. So on the rushing end of things, we have... Why does this keep happening? We have Damian Harris, over under 59.5. We have Devin Singletary, over under 62.5. We have Josh Allen, over under 48.5. Mac Jones, 8.5. Ramondre Stevenson, 40.5. So who do you like here? I know that there's one guy that you like, Ben.
Yeah, we could start with him. Ramondre Stevenson. I like his over. I do. And the reason why I would say is, yes, Harris may be the number one guy, but with a Bill Belichick offense, is there truly like a number one guy?
No, not really.
No. not really at all. Stevenson has had a good volume, a good snap share, and Bill trusts him. I know he's a rookie, but he's been getting pretty consistent carries and snaps the last several weeks. So I know he was out a few games, but if you date back and just look at, other than that Dolphins game last week, which is a complete outlier because that game didn't mean anything to them, he's had pretty consistent snaps and carries. So I think this is going to be a good spot for him with the number presented. I think 40.5 is a good value to play an over.
Yeah, I agree. So this is another number that's gone up over the course of the week. I mean, I think props tend to do that. If you look at on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and then look at it on Saturday or Sunday, the number on the weekend is higher for pretty much everybody. But I agree. I think that Stevenson. I don't think the Patriots are going to have a bell cow, but I think Stevenson is good for 12 carries, kind of like what the model thinks. And I think if he gets those 12 carries against this Bills defense, I think he's a good bet for 45 to 50 pretty consistently.
Mm-hmm.
So on the Bills side of things, I think that Josh Allen is probably the interesting guy to talk about. So the model, full disclosure, hates quarterback rushing props. Yeah, it's just something that happens with it. So the model has Josh Allen at 25.5 rushing yards. His number on Vegas is 48.5. I think that 25.5 is too low, so I want to kind of ignore the model looking at a quarterback rushing prop. But Ben, do you have any thoughts on this 48.5? Is it too high? Is it too low? Is it just right?
I think it's just right. I was gonna guess like a 45 to 49, and I lean. I don't know what I lean. That's such a high number for a quarterback, but probably where it should be.
Yeah, I would probably actually lean the over for Josh Allen at 48.5. He's had a lot of pretty big rushing games recently. He's been 60 plus 3 straight games. He had only 24 in a pretty big blowout win against Carolina in Week 15, and then 109 the week before that also. So 4 of the last 5, he's hit this by 15 plus yards. I think that it kind of correlates nicely with thinking that Allen might not have such a huge day through the air. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, there's certainly going to be some designed runs, but a lot of the runs are also going to be dropbacks that he decides to pull the ball down and run instead.
Yep.
And I think that also just Allen running the ball is, I mean, it's just a super consistent source of yards. And, I mean, in the playoffs, that's what counts, right? You want to put the ball in the hands of your best player, and if that's your quarterback and he can run the ball, let him do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the over for Josh Allen. Anything else, or are you ready to move on to receiving props?
Let's move on.
All right. Is there a team that you would like to start with on the receiving end of things?
Fine with either.
All right, let's go with the Bills because that's who I already have up filtered on the dashboard. So we've got Cole Beasley over under 35.5. We've got Dawson Knox over under 31.5. I keep hitting the fucking thing to change this dimensions of my window instead of the scroll bar. It's infuriating me right now. We've got Devin Singletary. Oh, that's receptions. Did they get rid of receiving yards?
I thought I just saw it.
They did. They were up. Oh, I think that's why it reset up to the top. So draft. Oh, I minimized it. That's what happened. Big brain time. All right. Cole Beasley, 35.5. Dawson Knox, 31.5. Devin Singletary, 14.5. Emmanuel Sanders, 23.5. Gabriel Davis, 29.5. Stephon Diggs, 68.5. Ben, do you have any thoughts?
Kind of like that Diggs under, Nick.
At 68.5, why is that?
Well, I think Bill Belichick has always done a pretty good job of taking away what a team does best, and I don't think Diggs necessarily will be completely out of the offense, but I just think at a number at 68.5, I will lean towards the under there. I'm not betting it, but that was one that caught my eye.
Yeah, I think it's a number that might be a little bit too high as well. In the 2 games against New England this year, in the regular weather game, Diggs had 7 catches for 85 yards on 13 targets for a touchdown. I think if he gets 13 targets in this game, this is going to fly over.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the windy game, he had 4 catches on 7 targets for 51 yards. So still, I mean, I think all things considered, a pretty good performance in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I probably ultimately would lean under for Diggs as well, but definitely not something I'm going to have any action on.
Same.
Anybody else?
Not really. I'm just a little concerned with the weather just by being on the wrong end of it type deal. Like,
yeah, I'm
I don't
completely
know.
with you.
Yeah.
It was like in the last game, right? There was a lot of numbers that kind of looked appealing for receiving yards, but it was a trap because they just didn't throw the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody has anybody else on the Bills that they'd like us to talk about receiving yardage wise, let us know. But I got nothing.
Dawson Knox.
Dawson Knox. I mean, this is a weird number on DraftKings. It's 31.5 with plus 100 on the over, which is kind of strange.
He's been kind of quiet lately, right?
He has. The model has him down at like 23. Although I think that if there are weather issues, he's a guy who benefits from that.
Yeah.
Because he catches a lot of short passes because he's a tight end.
I also looked up his numbers from last season in the playoffs. Not impressive either.
Mm-hmm.
So I was hoping that I could find something there, and maybe that would support a case for his over, but nothing's really leaning towards it. And he probably will get 40 yards now.
Yeah, you never know. Wentz says Emmanuel Sanders. So model has Sanders at 26.1, which is an over on his number on DraftKings. I think that I don't like about the Bills is they have so many guys who were kind of all like option 2A, option 2B, option 2C behind Emmanuel Sanders, or not behind Stephon Diggs. We're talking about Sanders, so I said Sanders. In the passing game, it's just so hard to tell which of those guys is going to get the targets on any given day. I mean, there's a reason why you see Sanders' number at 23 and Davis's number at 29 and Knox's number at 31 and Beasley's number at 35. I mean, they're all like basically the same number. And so it's just who gets the targets. And I don't perform well, I guess, trying to play that guessing game unless I have a real reason to think something.
Yeah, I agree there.
All right, so let's move on to the New England Patriots. So we've got Brandon Bolden over under 15.5. Hunter Henry 30.5. Jacoby Myers 45.5. Jonnu Smith 10.5. Kendrick Bourne 30.5. Nelson Aguilar 25.5.
You can start this one off because I actually don't have anything that I like here.
No, the Patriots, I mean, I was just talking about it with the Bills. Is another team in basically that same exact situation where they have a ton of guys who it's like option 1A, option 1B, option 1C. And they all get more or less the exact same amount of volume. So the model had Mac Jones' passing number within like 0.2 of a yard. So I'm expecting to see actually a lot of these numbers that we have and that Vegas has line up pretty closely. So the model has Myers at 42.3. Vegas's number is him at 45.5, so that's super close. Kendrick Bourne, we have over by a few yards. Nelson Aguilar, we have over by a yard and a half. Hunter Henry is a guy that maybe we like an under on. So the model has Henry at 27.6, whereas Vegas is offering a 30.5. I guess not even that is that crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jonnu Smith actually is a guy that the model likes quite a bit, that Vegas is a little down on today. So Vegas has him, I think, all the way down at 10.5. Let me find it again. Yeah, 10.5 for Jonnu Smith. Model has him at 25. Although I think that a lot of those yards should be Brandon Bolden's yards. Can only give the model 2 running backs, and it was Harris and Stevenson. So Bolden, the number 3 back, was kind of left out. So I would assume that a lot of his targets are going to Smith instead in the model.
Good point.
But still, I think that Smith over 10.5 is a pretty good look if you're looking for an over in this passing attack.
Mm-hmm.
Anything from you, Ben?
No, I struggled with trying to figure something out to give out, and just the Patriots, man.
Yeah, no, it's an ugly offense, at least especially through the air. No disrespect to Mac Jones, but they're just not trying to air the ball out with him.
Yeah,
it's just stylistically not what they're doing. So I think it's an avoid spot for me as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right, let's take a look at touchdown props. And these are going to be ugly, I believe. So the total in this game is low, right? We're looking at a 43. So if you get a score of 43, how many touchdowns is that?
5.5.
Yes, I mean, kind of, yeah. So 42
6.
is 6 touchdowns. But I think really it's more like 5 touchdowns and a couple field goals. So 5 touchdowns is 35. 3 more field goals puts you at 44. Something along those lines. So these touchdown scorer odds should be pretty juicy. And yeah, we're not seeing anybody in minus money territory. The model really, aside from, it has Stephon Diggs as the best guy at 0.55 touchdowns per game. But nobody else at even 0.4 touchdowns or higher than 0.4 touchdowns. So I think that this is I kind of honestly like the Jamar Chase one in the last game, but I think that this is a spot where there's nobody that has really good value.
Agreed. Didn't even look at him.
Yeah, it's not a game that's probably going to have a ton of touchdowns and teams with a ton of options. So, nah. No touchdown scorers from here. All right. Ben, I think it's that time. What is your favorite bet in this game?
I'm going to go with Ramondre Stevenson over 41.5 rushing yards.
I'm still showing 40.5 on DraftKings.
Okay, so over 40.5 rushing yards.
Yeah, and let's shop around a little bit. Yeah, 41.5 on FanDuel. This 40.5 is probably going to be the best number.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, oh god, this game is ugly. I really don't like it. I think for my favorite pick for this game, I'm gonna be under gang today. I'm gonna take Josh Allen under. What's the best number I can get? 238.5, I suppose. Josh Allen under 238.5 passing yards.
I thought we found a 240.
Oh, did we? I guess maybe PointsBet had a 240. No, PointsBet's down to 235 now.
Of course.
They're all over the place. We'll go with the under 238 on Josh Allen. So part of that is due to the fact that I think he's just going to have some success on the ground, which will take away from his passing production. And the other thing is I think that the Patriots are going to have some success on the ground, which is going to take away from volume for Josh Allen. He's not really been a big deep threat quarterback. He's required 45 attempts to hit this number in recent weeks, and I don't think he comes close to that.
I like it.
All right. So that is more or less it for the NFL today. Quick recap. The model has in the Raiders-Bengals game, model has a Raiders covering 6 points and an over. And our favorite lean for the game, Raiders +6 if you're looking for spreads and totals. Our favorite props in that game, Darren Waller over 60.5 receiving yards from Ben. And from me, I had Joe Mixon under 74.5 rushing yards. And in this second game, New England and Buffalo, the model has New England covering the 4.5 point spread. And there's the slightest of leans on the over. But for us, for sure, New England covering is the game level pick that we like the most. And in the prop market, Ben has Ramondre Stevenson over 40.5 rushing yards. I like Josh Allen under 238.5 passing yards.
Bang.
Bang. Bing, bang, boom.
Fuck your life, as the kids say.
Uh-huh. So let's go take 10 minutes, grab some snacks, grab a beer, run to the bathroom, and let's go watch some playoff football.
Let's do it. Should we raid the Book It channel?
We can raid the Book It channel. I have to sign in to the Capwise account.
If it's too much work.
Oh, you can probably do it.
Oh, yeah. How do I do it?
You click on the Capwise icon in the top right.
Okay.
And then you go to your creator dashboard.
Okay.
And we should be like live and shit. There's like a thing that looks like a parachute.
Parachute.
Or you're on the creator dashboard. There's like a bunch of icons on the right hand side.
Yep, raid channel, okay.
Okay, so find the Book It Sports channel.
Yep. Click it.
Okay. Yeah, click it. What's the worst thing that happens?
We raid them.
Yep. All right, raid starting in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right.
Boom.
We're heading out. See y'all next time.